All right, I've begun recording, but I can, cut the beginning. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it to make us seem worse than we are.
Good. I like that.
All right, so basically, I want you guys to introduce yourselves. So, who wants to go first? Nico, you can go first. I just want you to introduce yourself and tell me what your connection to the Jehovah's Witness religion is.
Hello, my name is Nico, and my connection is that I made friends with one of my best friends who and pretty much I realized in order to be able to hang out with him, I had to be in some way studying. So I chose to do that. I chose to study with them to be able to hang out with my best friend. And that is my connection.
Okay.
My name is Lex, and I was raised a Jehovah's Witness by my mom. My dad is not a Jehovah's Witness, but my mom was a single mom because my parents split up, so she basically raised me in the truth. So since birth, or since I've been in her stomach, I guess, I've been attending the meetings, and that's my connection.
Okay. Now, was there ever a moment for you, Lex, that you can remember that you started having any doubts about it?
Yeah, I think if I think back, like one memory that a core memory for me is like when I was studying the Bible, because for you to be on the school and stuff, like you have to go through a Bible study. So I was studying with one of the sisters in my hall. She was an elder's wife. I'm sure they still are, but they were Bethelites. She was studying with me the Learn from the Great Teacher book, and I started to question like God's existence. But
how old were you?
I don't know, maybe 10, 11 probably.
This seems fishy.
Yeah, but I was like,
early too.
Yeah, I was like, what was weird to me was I couldn't grasp the concept of God just existing. That never sat well with me as a child, because you're taught that like everything's created, but now she's here telling me, well, God just exists, and he existed before, he'll exist after, he's just like eternal, and he just exists, and that didn't make sense in my young mind.
It's sort of like a special pleading, like everything was created. Besides this, don't ask about it.
Right. And I would be like, well, that doesn't really make sense to me, or it was confusing. And basically that was the first time that somebody told me that, like, I can't question things and I should have more faith.
Which is something kids do all the time.
Right.
Kids question everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's kind of when I first had my first experience of being like, like, that's weird. That doesn't make sense.
And Nico, like, obviously you did it, you did this for different reasons. You were just, studying to keep hanging out. But what was your impression of the whole arrangement as somebody that's, kind of on the outside looking in?
I would say over time, my impression was that, at least my experience was that, with the Kingdom Hall that I was normally going to, and the people I was around, everybody was such just nice people. But I had decided earlier on, because I grew up in Baptist, and I decided earlier on that I don't really think about if there's a God, and I don't really believe per se that there is a God, a one true God that created everything and controls how things are structured. And so because I had already decided that earlier on, I knew exactly what I was doing when I was deciding to study it. And I don't even think I thought too hard about saying yes or no to it. I think I was just like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. And then, so was there ever a point where you saw anything that it seems suspicious or just weird, or like, why do they do that, you know?
So before even deciding to study, I already thought a bunch of it was weird. Not celebrating your birthday, I thought that was weird. Even though I'm someone who doesn't really care about his birthday too much, I still think it's weird that you just never celebrated your birthday.
Yeah, like you don't care, but the hard line against it.
Yeah, I think that's strange. I think not celebrating for any holiday is strange. Like, Halloween's cool. Kids love Halloween. You keep Halloween from kids?
I'm a grown man,
insane.
And since leaving, Halloween is my favorite thing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Same. I didn't think it would be that fun, but it is.
It's amazing.
And then on top of that, after studying more and learning more, finding out that you couldn't play certain games because they had too much of like magic or worship in it.
Disney movies,
and
like
certain Disney movies you weren't allowed to watch. Certain movies you're not allowed to watch. You're not allowed to going back to the questioning thing. You're not allowed to question anything, and if someone brings up something, you're supposed to pretty much pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny about the games thing. I don't know if you knew this, like, I don't know if I told you, but back in high school, Nico got me into playing World of Warcraft. And that game is like, it's just riddled with magic and like straight up demons. Like, it'll say this is a demon, you know, all this stuff, right? And my workaround, the way I like justified it in my head, was by playing the classes of character that had nothing to do with magic. So I would play like, I'm a hunter, or I'm a warrior. Like, man,
magic, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
It's so sad. It kind of like robs you of a childhood, you know?
Yeah. It also robs you of imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't, I don't know about like you guys, but my mom was like a pretty strict witness. And when she had me, like when I was growing up, my mom was actually disfellowshipped at the time. So even though we would attend every meeting, like, I kind of felt like I was the like everyone expected things from me, you know? Like, my mom kind of lived vicariously through me. She would like make me like have my comments together at like 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm like in the Kingdom Hall, like making comments every meeting. Did
she pinch you if you didn't comment?
Yes, and she would get upset at me if I didn't like comment one meeting, or if I didn't take notes during like the public talk. So I think that my childhood was kind of like robbed in that way because I couldn't. And again, like, my dad wasn't a witness, so it created that conflict in my mind.
Yeah.
My dad calling me to like not tell me happy birthday because he wouldn't say it out of respect. But also, every birthday at midnight, my dad calls me like, hey, I love you, like, you're this old today. But with my mom, it was so strict, in fact, that I didn't know my mom's birthday until later on in life. Because, like, it was like taboo, like, we can't talk about it. You're not allowed to know the day I was born because birthdays are bad.
I still don't know my family's birthdays.
Damn. Yeah. It's insane.
That's
something
wild.
so simple.
So, Lex, when that was like your first time doubting or having that kind of a thought.
Yeah.
But what was your experience like growing up in it? Because obviously, your doubts were either squashed or suppressed. You continued in it. So what was that like?
I think when I was younger, it was like good, like I feel like I was a pretty good kid. Like, I didn't get into a lot of trouble. I didn't do much. I was kind of like a little nerd. Like, I was a reader, and I grew up an only child, so I played by myself. Like, I was pretty much alone all the time, which, like, you know, I don't know, maybe that did something. But when I started to get older, as, like, a female in the organization, I started to, like, notice, like, just, I don't think we are treated the same as, like, the males. So once I started going in Jamaica, because I grew up in Jamaica, there's primary school, which is kind of middle school in the US. I started to, like, notice, okay, I am, like, a little different than the kids at my school. Like, I wasn't allowed to make those friends, and my hall pretty much had, like, a bunch of young kids, and so we kind of grew up together. And at that time, it was still good for me. Like, nothing really happened. I never got in trouble, like, spiritually. But then when I moved to the US, started going to high school, I felt like that pressure to get baptized, because I wasn't baptized. I was just an unbaptized publisher. And once I started feeling that pressure from my mom and, like, everyone else around me, I was like, okay, like, I guess I'll just do it. I was waiting for this aha moment that never came, but I was like, I guess I'll just do this. And then once that happened, and I kind of started to, like, mature a little bit, and, like, puberty started to kick in, like, then it became, like, a switch. Like, no one was nice anymore. Like, it was kind of this weird, like, oh, you're becoming a woman now, so, you know, you're a whore. Like,
Jesus.
And it wasn't like it would come from people that I wouldn't expect it to, like random elders all the time, like, oh, like, you're a young sister and you're very attractive, like, you need to be careful. It just was a sudden shift for me that I wasn't prepared for, because again, like, I wasn't doing anything. So at the time it was like, this is so weird, like, people are treating me weird. Like, the things that I would wear, again, I feel like I was a very modest girl, but it was like getting attention, and things like a cap sleeve shirt, like seeing the side of my arm, and an elder being like, you need to put a scarf on because your shoulders are out.
It's like the Amish.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, it's just confusing going from, like, oh, Pioneer, and she's so spiritual and she's so great, to, like, puberty happening, and it's like, you're such a whore, like, you only go to the bathroom during the meeting so that the young brothers can watch you, like, walk down
They said
the aisle.
that?
Somebody made that very comment.
An elder?
I don't remember who it was, but they told a specific elder in my hall, and he decided to talk to me about it. And I was like, I'm on my period. Like, yeah. And also, I didn't know it was a rule against going to the... Can I curse in this?
Yeah.
Against going
We're apostates now.
Against going to the fucking bathroom. Like, I just needed to use the bathroom. I didn't understand that. So it was definitely, like, a huge shift for me when it came to, like, the opposite sex, even though I wasn't involved in it much, and most of the guys in my hall they were all older than me, so it was kind of more like Big Brother vibes, and the ones that were my age, I wasn't attracted to any of them, so it was kind of like, you know, we were all just friends. And again, I didn't grow up in that hall, so when I moved there, it was more of like, I need to make friends, you know, because I'm not allowed to make friends at school, like, so these people are gonna have to become kind of my friends, even though, you know, you're kind of forced into friendship, but still, like, I was just trying to be nice, and I think that, I don't know, I didn't get it. It was just viewed the wrong way, so.
I find it kind of creepy of the elders to suddenly start saying that stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's like it wasn't a thought in your mind.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they sexualized you like
Yeah.
immediately as
Yeah.
you like. That's bizarre.
And also, I remember I was telling you about it earlier, but one specific elder who like moved into our hall later on, he took the young brothers out and he told them not to associate with me because I would get them in trouble, like me specifically. And I had never spoken to him before. I genuinely can't even tell you his name now, but
He was
I
new to the congregation.
He was new
right?
to my congregation, and he just like made that comment to them one day.
Like singled you out pretty much.
Just singled me out after never having a conversation with me at all. Like, you have no idea who I am. And then another instance where this particular elder, I feel like he was like always up my fucking ass. Like, same situation, he moved into our hall and I thought it was fine, like he was nice, but then at the same time he was very like mean to me for no reason. So we were out in service one day. I was working with one of my friend's dad. He wanted to work with my friend's dad, and so he sent me to go work door to door on the same street with my friend, who is a guy, and another guy from our hall. So 3 young people like working in service, which wasn't weird, but at the time, again, like everyone kept like yelling at me about like opposite sex, and like here you are putting me in this situation to go for somebody to drive by and be like, why is she working with, you know? But anyway, like I went, and at the end of it, we all gathered around like under a little tree for a little shade break during service, and out loud in front of everybody he looks at me and he's like, you like the attention that the young brothers give you, don't you?
Oh, that was in front of everybody.
That was in front of everybody, and I was like speechless. Like, I didn't know what to say to him, because I'm like, you did just ask me that. Like, and then I think I just like walked away, and I remember being in my friend Teresa's car, and I like started to like have a whole meltdown, and she was like, what happened? And I told her, and she's like, absolutely not, like we're gonna talk to him, like that's not okay that he did that. And I remember going to my elders about it, and them basically being like, oh, well, maybe he just like misspoke or something, or you do like
that was deliberate.
Right, or you do, you know, like, you know, your conduct with the young brothers. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, all of you sit in front of me and give me like conduct this, conduct that, but like, what have I done?
You were having conversations with them sometimes.
How dare you talk to them?
Yeah. So it was very frustrating, to say the least, to be like constantly having to defend myself over nothing.
Yeah. It's weird because I've heard that the thing that Jehovah's Witnesses get disfellowship more is the sexual misconduct,
Yeah.
right? But it feels like a lot of the times them putting it into people's heads to begin with, or like, you know what I mean? Like you said, you were, just going into puberty, you were just becoming a woman, and then right away they're bombarding you with all of this stuff, and then they're taking the brothers aside, and they were saying, don't talk to her, stay away from her because she'll get you in trouble. But they might as well have been saying like, hey, she'll fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like they're purposely tempting.
Yeah. It's just I think it's all backwards. But I think the problem with it is that they are doing a job that they are like fully unqualified for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like they're acting as therapists, counselors, judges, and all of this, and their day job is like Harbor Freight. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It just doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think that power kind of goes to their head
A
a
lot of
lot.
that. The moment they are made elders, I'm sure it goes to their head.
It goes to their head a lot, and you can tell, like, some elders are genuine good people, I'm sure. But, like, some of them are fucking, like, incels.
Yeah.
Is that a fucking squirrel?
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
He's here for the conversation.
Oh, he's so cute. What's in your mouth?
But I will say, I won't use his name, of course. I think he's still in the cult. But I've seen the kind of people that end up becoming elders, or really yearning for that position. And I've heard a lot of the times people saying that people that aren't chasing a position of leadership are often a lot better at it, or than people who are because you got to think about what their reasons are for wanting this. I mean, this guy, I remember I was at a meeting one day and everyone was celebrating the fact that he had been approved to go to Bethel, and it was this big thing, the whole congregation was so proud of him. This guy would go out drinking with us, and he would be the first one trying to say, oh, let's talk to these girls at the bar, these worldly girls and stuff. And I would always be like, to what end? Are you going to take them home? What are you doing? And more than that, I remember he sent a selfie from Bethel. Is him and a bunch of the other dudes at Bethel with the camera up above them, and on the dining room table, it was just full of alcohol, bottles, and I'm like, this is Bethel? This is happening where the Holy Spirit is supposed to be so strong. He was selected for this and brought over there, and he was trying to become a ministerial servant, and then he did, and might be an elder now for all I know, but it's just so strange to me.
For a lot of people, I feel that it was kind of save face type of thing. The people who were good at pretending to be perfect little witnesses always got ahead, if you can know what to say and feel service, you're a pioneer, you're reaching out, those people were held to this high standard.
So to kiss ass and you make it to
exactly. But at the end of the day, those were the people that you'd hear about, he's bad, they're an alcoholic, they're on drugs, they're having sex with everybody.
Yeah.
And it was always crazy to me that seemed to get you ahead. Pretending, because we know that they're pretending. Obviously, going out with your friend on a Friday night, getting shit-faced, versus Saturday morning, they're leading the field service group, the elder's daughter that was making out with anybody she could at all of these Jehovah's Witness gatherings, but somehow still found it unacceptable that my ex still hung out with me. Right.
That's crazy.
It was very strange.
But all right, I'm thinking about your situation still, Nico. Towards the end there, at the end of the studying, right? After being around them for as long as that,
it was a while.
I know that you said that they seemed generally nice people or whatever, but was there anything from the teachings you took away that you found particularly interesting or wrong or anything?
When you say interesting, what do you mean?
Literally just anything that stuck with you, that you heard and you were kind of
I guess I always thought the idea of those the 144,000 that I thought that was weird, and I thought the selection process of that was weird, because the selection process, from my understanding, was pretty much if you decide you're whoa, I'm chosen. I'm chosen.
It's true.
And then they're
so
he's chosen.
Yeah. You it's
and no
not
one's
your
allowed
place
to question
you.
That's so crazy.
That right there. I thought that was the weirdest thing.
Yes, I struggled with
Which
that
is why
too.
there have been a lot more than 144,000 that have
I'm sure.
partaking.
yeah.
Like,
I'm sure.
And no one can question you. That's so freaking stupid.
Yeah.
I remember discussing that too and being like, well, how do they know? And the answer that I got was that, well, you have an earthly hope. Like, you want to, like, be resurrected and you want to live forever on paradise earth. And they don't have that desire. And I always used to be in the back of my mind like, shit, like, I don't fucking have that desire either. Like, living on earth forever, like, what the fuck am I going to be doing? Like, some of these people that are going to be there, I don't even like them. Like, you know? And for me, I was like, well, like, how do they know that they don't have, like, an earthly hope? Like, what does that mean? Because humans, like, it's our desire to live. It's everyone, like, that's just natural.
Yeah.
So telling me that those a part of that group don't have that desire at all, so in my young mind I was like, so they want to be dead? Like, because if I'm a part of the 144th, that, like, send me up right now. Life is ghetto, you know. But I always thought that was weird, and no one was allowed to question them. So, but my mom, like, would die if I, like, partook one day just randomly, and it would be like, how do you know? Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
You just tell her, I know because I know because I know.
So I do have a question. Elders, government body, and 144,000. Who's above who?
Well, the 144,000 aren't above or below anyone.
Yeah.
Like, any member of the congregation can be a partaking member of the 144,000.
Okay.
The way it goes is governing body, I believe governing body helpers, circuit overseers, elders, and ministerial servants. There used to be, I don't know if they still have it, there used to be a lead elder, but I don't think... I don't know if they do that anymore.
They do.
They do?
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if they do it right now,
I mean,
but
they're growing
they did
beards
before.
now, so.
Exactly. They did it before I left, so...
Yeah.
And do they sit, so, like, when certain things are going on in different areas, if, like, the elders of that area can't get through to a certain person, will they send elders from another area that has more experience dealing with
some of the
something
times,
like that?
yeah.
Elders
The congregation I grew up in was terrible. Like, that was the congregation that one elder told someone else, a new person, as I was leaving the restroom. They said, to stay away from me because I was bad association. And then I popped my head back in the bathroom and looked at them, and he was like, oh, I was just kidding. But, I mean, it's funny to kid about something while I'm not there. I don't know. That's weird.
The cotton for
So the only reason I was asking is because I was making an analogy. I was trying to figure something out. So elders sound like specters from Mass Effect.
Not really.
They can almost do whatever they want.
Oh, you mean like that?
Yeah.
Not really. They still have to. No, they still have to do the stuff, or else.
Oh no! I know that, but like, even from like, because like, it's almost as if they themselves can't get reprimanded, even though I know they can.
Yeah, they can.
But how often does that happen?
It doesn't happen very often.
What happens usually, if there is something that's significant enough, is they are either removed as an elder or they step down, whether it's because they chose to or because they are asked to step down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times that happens if, something happens, which I think is very dumb, but if something happens in their household, like my friend I had growing up, his sister, I think, had premarital sex and got pregnant and all this stuff, and so he stepped down. Because because the father stepped down because he couldn't keep his house in order, this whole silly thing. But I'm like, if that's the case, then Jehovah should have stepped down because he couldn't keep his house in order. Satan did all that stuff. A third of the angels rebelled.
People don't talk about this a lot, but like, once somebody in your family does something wrong or you do something wrong, it's kind of their way to like shun your family a little bit. It's like, they're not good association. We're not going to hang out with them.
It's like you got a disease.
You
Right.
brought great dishonor.
Right,
on
but
this
like you
family.
said, like, it was his daughter who did that. Like, she has free will. She makes her own choices.
Exactly.
Like, he has nothing to do with it. But it's a way for them to, like, bring shame to the family.
Yeah.
And even though they don't want to say it, you'll notice, like, people won't invite you out anymore. You
And
don't
also
get invited to
use
the
them as an
gatherings. Yes, you get used as an example. And they talk about you, like, really poorly. So, I don't know. It's not really, like, a good lesson.
Yeah.
No. I was going to say, and it goes into all of that. Another thing that I found strange, because I think this was the utmost thing that I found to be ridiculous, is once I learned about what happens when someone does get disfellowshipped, the family has to shun them and almost pretend like they don't exist. And I thought that was insane. I thought it was insane because the person, depending on when they get disfellowshipped, they can get disfellowshipped at any age in their life. Imagine being disfellowshipped at the age of like 40 or 45, and your entire way of living for 45 years is just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember you telling me that there have been times when people who have been disfellowshipped have, kind of lost it or committed suicide.
Yeah.
Or, like, that's insane. And
I didn't find out about all that stuff until after I left.
And what's crazy is that they know that this happens to people who get disfellowshipped, and they keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're inviting these things to happen.
Yeah. It's crazy because, like you said, not knowing about that until after, I started, like, really thinking back once I found out. Because, again, my mom was disfellowshipped when I was a small child. And a lot of our family, like, we don't have a lot of witnesses on her side of the family. But a lot of them got turned away by that. Like, my uncle specifically, I remember him being like, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness because, like, I don't agree with the disfellowshipping. My dad didn't agree with it. So, like, it was, like, weird to me. I didn't really understand what the big deal was until I got older and I myself was, like, getting ready to leave. And then I realized, like, holy shit, like, I grew up like this. I don't talk to my family who aren't witnesses. I don't, like, have any friends who aren't witnesses. So, like, there's nobody around me that I wouldn't lose if I left this religion because it's my entire social construct. And I didn't realize how damaging it was until later on in life. When I was younger, I was like, oh, disfellowshipped. Oh, well, I hope they come back. But, like, when I think about it, like, the only reason to come back is because that's your entire life, especially if you grew up in it. Like, where else are you going to go?
It encourages people to want to come back.
Yeah.
Which is, that's why they do it.
It's designed that way.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it's like they really should think about it. I mean, if you're returning, it should be because of the love of the religion, the love of God.
Yeah.
But instead, they're basically holding all of your life hostage and saying, well, if you want any of this, you can come back.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that if someone were to return, then they get questioned. They could possibly be questioned if their reasoning for returning is proper. Are you returning because you have a love for Jehovah, or are you returning because you just want your family back?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
they do.
several steps like that. The elders keep in contact with them, over time. But one thing I wanted to ask too is, do you remember the process of the realization about the religion being nonsense?
I think it kind of started happening, like, maybe like a year or two a year after high school, I started to like not really enjoy service as much, and like I wasn't really like studying my Watchtower, and I think I had this moment of being like, I'm just gonna like give it my all, and you know, and I'm just gonna be like the best witness ever. But the more I studied and researched and read, like, was the more that I was like, this, like, it didn't make sense to me, and I kind of suppressed it a lot. And I know that it was after like talking to you, because most of my feelings I didn't even talk to about, you know, as my ex-husband. But like I know that he was like struggling too with his spirituality, but we didn't really go in depth because, like I said, I know for a fact, no, like research anything. His feelings were based on like people, and he'd be like, oh yeah, it doesn't make sense. But for me, like reading this stuff and being like, holy shit, like this really doesn't make sense. And then later on in life being like, I'm so unhappy. Like I was unhappy in my marriage, like I was like mad at the religion, like mad that I got married so young, mad that I married the wrong person. So like all of these things were changing in my life, and I was just like I don't want to grow up like this, like thinking I'm going to be like 45, like in the truth, like, you know, just stuck. And I was like, I don't want to do that shit. And so I think you came over to our house and you started talking to us a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, like he thinks, like really he's saying, so? Yeah, like he's saying some of the things that I thought, but I didn't want to say. And then I think one day, it's so fucking hilarious, but I was like playing video games or some shit, and I was like in our room, and something popped up on YouTube, the Vice, the JW Vice documentary. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to watch this. And I was like so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to watch this, but I have to watch it because like it doesn't make sense. And I used to see little like Instagram things come up on my For You page of people saying, oh, it just took a little bit of critical thinking. And that video stuck in my mind, and I was like replaying it in my head as I was like looking at this documentary, and I just clicked play, and it was like, holy shit. I think I like called you or texted you after that, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm in a cult. Yeah. I can't believe this. Yeah. And it just opened my eyes since then, and I kind of never stopped digging, I guess.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know how long it was that we stopped talking. It felt like 3 years. Like after you reached out to me, I guess it was after you started like going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it was after I had my realization that it was a cult, and I was it's a frightening thing for the people that have been taking the religion so seriously. And I feel like what you were saying earlier, like people, like how you were one of the ones that were doing the stuff the way you were supposed to do it. I feel like it's strange. We end up being the ones that leave a lot of the time. Like a lot of them stay in pretending and stuff. But for the people that aren't pretending and really feel it, it can become really taxing. But no, I stopped by right after I made that realization.
Don't get me wrong, too. Like, I did stuff, like, after high school, like, I talked to a few boys, I think,
disfellowship.
2 or 3 again. 2 or 3 of them that I knew from my hall, or one of them was one of my friend's brother. But, like, again, like, nothing really happened. I think I was put on private reproof one time for kissing a boy.
That's
so
stupid.
Sorry.
That's dumb.
But yes, I kissed him, and we were alone together, so I guess there was that too, yeah.
Can't have that.
But again, I was like, fuck it, like, I was young, and I wasn't that young, like, I was out of high school, I was like my first year in college, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I should be allowed to do this, But yeah, I mean, it was frowned upon. I understand, but at the same time, I don't think it was that bad. And then later on, that made me so angry too that I think after that I kind of just stopped caring a little bit. And later on, I went to this party with one of my friends, or we used to be friends, but we went to this party with our coworkers, and like I was drinking, I was underage, so like I got put on public reproof because they were like, oh, they knew that you were a witness. I also made out with that guy. He was my coworker. But like, again, small fling, not really a fling if you want to identify flings as kissing.
Yeah.
But like, we like went to Orlando with them. Like, it was a whole thing. So yeah, I got in trouble afterwards. But before, I wasn't doing anything. I was just a girl in the
Just
world.
being a young person,
Yeah.
having a
Hormones and all that.
Yeah.
Well, what were you saying about?
So I was saying that throughout that time that we didn't talk,
Yeah.
I didn't hold it against you or anything, because I'm glad that I did study, because I completely understood why that was happening. And then I remember when you did reach out and then you came over to the house, it was like we had been hanging out yesterday.
Yeah.
It was like no time passed at all. So like,
I'm pretty sure I pulled up with a vape too.
Yep.
So you probably were like, okay.
nope.
Now you didn't think
I
something was weird about it?
Cool.
Yeah.
I just completely accepted whatever was going on. I already knew something might have happened because you reached out to me.
Oh, I feel that.
That's how I
Yeah.
felt. But
Yeah.
remember, I had said that something, like I had like some sort of feeling way back when, because of the things you did, the games you played, the things like some of the reactions you had. Somewhere inside me, I felt like he was going to leave at some point. And I was just like, okay, well, if it happens, it happens. But
Yeah.
it's no big
Damn,
deal.
I remember I was scared to curse too when I was still a witness. Like, growing up, it was like so bad. And now that I think back, I'm like, shit, I can't believe that was a thing that I was like hung up about. Like, oh my god,
So minuscule.
Yeah.
I can't even think about the F word. It's bad.
Yeah. I've noticed that I've developed a potty mouth.
Same.
Like,
Wait, were you guys
bad.
able to say bitch?
No.
It's a female dog.
No.
I mean, in that context, I used to say it.
I remember giggling if like they said the word ass at the meeting
Yeah.
as like a donkey.
Yeah.
Like, they said a bad word.
Yeah, or like you get to curse in your reading if you go up
know.
there to read. Did I ever tell you about, side note, did I ever tell you about how they sneakily took away my mic privileges? Privileges.
No.
I hate how they call it privileges.
It's not.
Working for
Just
free
happy
is a
for you.
privilege. I guess it was just because my service, was so low, and my meeting attendance wasn't as bad as it got, but it was sort of irregular. They suddenly just started not giving me the mic. They never said anything about it. They just
They
had
just
other
stopped.
people start doing it, and I was kind of like that hurt me at the time, because I was like, man, like maybe Jehovah's mad at me, you know, like, but it's just a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like, does anyone have anything to add to this one? I feel like we could do some more of these.
Yeah.
I want to do.
With like
Mine
specific
too.
topics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's such a broad thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like something you can cover in one sitting.
Yeah.
There's so many things wrong with the organization.
Yeah. And I've got. I don't know. We've been doing this for what, like 40.
Oh yeah, almost an hour.
So if you want, we can stop now, you know, and I can talk about my stuff another time.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
we can do
that's
like the child like sexual abuse
Yeah.
Yeah,
stuff, and like
you know what? There is a lot to go
I
into.
have a few
Yeah.
experiences about that too,
Mm-hmm.
and just the overall culture, dating culture,
Oh God, dating culture.
just the friendships.
Dude, when Toni Morris went up there and said that if there's a brother and he's nice and to you and he looks good, he's addressing all the sisters, right? but he's not a ministerial servant. He's like 23 or something like that. There might be something wrong there. And I was listening to this as someone who was like either 23 or 24, who had nothing but bad luck in these weird Jehovah's Witness relationships. And I think my face must have just gone dead. Like, I wasn't sad, I wasn't mad, I was just like, that's a wrap,
Yeah.
nail in the coffin for relationships, because I never saw myself leaving. If someone had asked
I don't
me,
think most people do.
Yeah,
Especially if you're born into
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
if someone,
Not see yourself leaving.
I remember there was a part of a study that we were doing, and in it said, like from some scripture, that in the time of the end, that like many will actually end up leaving.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my mom, and I was like, how? Like, why would they do that after knowing the truth? Like, you can't unknow the truth. That's crazy, So it's really weird. Like, if someone had asked me, like, never in my life, and I was the kind of witness that I used to get into debates with people, and I would win some of those debates with lies that were true in my head. Like, what?
You just brought a thought to me. So that, you saying that, like, why would somebody leave? Like, there's no way of unknowing the truth. It's like you were indoctrinated to know that, to not think that the people who have left no longer think that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, they see it as a lie. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's just straight up the truth.
It's like, how could they?
They still know the truth, but you don't see it as they like no,
And
to them it's not
calling
the
it
truth.
The truth.
That is the most loaded shit.
I fucking hate it now. I hate
I've
that
told people so
term.
many times, like, when they
The
talk to each
truth.
other, it's like, it's not how long have you been a Jehovah's Witness, or this.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the truth?
Like, what the fuck does that mean? We sound like fucking psychos.
I find it hard to believe that wasn't orchestrated, like, like, to be like
It's
even further
so
brainwashing.
stupid.
And they already said they don't like independent thinking because it's dangerous.
Right.
Critical thinking is bad.
Right.
You know what's funny? Whenever witnesses would come to my door after having studied with you, I would always say, "Oh, I got a friend who I study with." And they'd be like, "Oh, okay," and then they walk off.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I always tell people these days to just open the door and say that you're an apostate.
I think you'd give
they might
somebody
run.
a heart attack.
I just be like, "I'm an apostate. Would you like to hear some things?"
Would you like to hear about my apostasy?
How do you feel about the Australian Royal Commission? They're like,
Oh
what?
my god.
You just start going into
Yeah.
stuff,
AI.
and then they start walking away. You just start following them,
Yeah.
and just say it. They have to hear it unless they cover their ears.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. So we will,
That almost was bad.
pick some of this up next time.
Yeah.
I'll tell my thing. There's a few other apostates that might be down to join. So
We should have like specific topics too
Mm.
that we get into with people. Would
all
anyone
right.
like
Let
some
us
weed?
pick this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's pick this up next time. All right.
Alrighty.